Y'all, some big stuff dropped yesterday, and I dove into it last night. The FBI secretly opened a probe alleging that Trump fired James Comey because he was a Russian asset, declassified memos show. The FBI opened a criminal probe specifically targeting Donald Trump in May 2017, even though the Bureau's own evidence overwhelmingly showed at the time there was no collusion with the Kremlin. Benny Johnson shared this summary. He says, the White House reveals an FBI opened the investigation of Trump in 2017, accusing him of being an agent of Russia with no evidence. Newly declassified documents reveal Oxford Comma was opened solely because he fired James Comey. The president's own FBI was working against him. Now, y'all, there are some very interesting things I want to point out to you about this FBI document. Okay, I've highlighted the stuff that I want you to pay attention to in yellow. Notice right here, it's Oxford Comma, and Oxford is normally spelled O-X-F-O-R-D, but right here, it's spelled O-X-F-E-R-D. Now, why would that be? Because that would prevent somebody from doing a control find in the document, searching for the word Oxford and coming up with every single time that word appears. If you've misspelled the word, it's going to help circumvent a future FOIA request. Now pay attention to right here. This is derived from the FBI NSISC-200900615, declassify on 2042-1231. That would be 12/31 of 2042, okay? Quarter of a century away. And then right here, the case ID is HQ-2167885. But now in this next document, the name is still the same, Oxford Comma, spelled the wrong way, but the case ID is SM-2167885. So that changed, derived from, now it says FBI space NSIC space CG, and the declassified date is 20431231. So now we are declassifying on December 31st of 2043, a full year after the other document shows the declassification date. So I used ChatGPT to push these two documents together so you can see this is the opening statement, this is the closing communication, and you can see the highlighted, and then it shows you at the bottom what the differences are in the documents. Now, there's a lot of speculation looking at these two letters right here, both of which appear to be an uppercase letter O. Right here, the top one, though, it's rounded, and this one right here, there's a lot of speculation that that's actually a 0 and not an O. I can't definitively say either way. It could be a scanning issue. It could be maybe easier to identify if I was looking at an actual PDF, but they do look different to my eyes, but I can't say definitively either way. Now, of course, like I said, they're going to intentionally do things like misspell Comey as they had in other documents, C-O-R-N-E-Y. So when you're scanning it, your eyes see the R and the N together and it looks like the letter M, but it will not show up when you are doing a control find to find certain words like Comey. Somebody dug way deep into Twitter and came up with this quote right here from James Comey. Check the actual cover. I'm all about Oxford commas. What a weird thing to say, especially when this document is named Oxford Comma. Here is a summary of my notes. I'm going to read it from my iPad because this is a lot, okay? The FBI just declassified 3 documents that show the opening, notification, and closing of a counterintelligence investigation into President Donald Trump. According to these documents, it was an investigation into Trump himself, not somebody around him. On May 16, 2017, the FBI opened a full counterintelligence investigation. The memo says they believe they had factual basis to investigate whether he was acting knowingly or unknowingly, that's very important, on behalf of Russia. That is the language that they used, okay? Also on May 16th, acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe notified Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein that the investigation has been opened. So at this point, it's not a discussion, it is a full-blown investigation, okay? Now, the Department of Justice was notified at that point. Then one day later, on May 17th, Robert Mueller is appointed special counsel. According to the closing memo, the responsibility for the investigation transferred over to Mueller's office at that point. So go forward 2 years. On March 22nd, 2019, Mueller submits his report to the Attorney General. Then on April 8th, 2019, the FBI closes the investigation because the special counsel's work had been finished. So here's what my takeaway is. Every single document calls the investigation Oxford Comma, but Oxford is spelled wrong with the E every single time, okay? That's weird to me. There's also a few other differences. I pointed out the opening memo uses case number HQ2167885, but the closing memo changes to SM2167885. The case number stays the same, but the prefix changes. There could be a very rational explanation for that, okay? The classification markings change too. One document says FBI NSISC-20090615. Another one says FBI space NSIC space CG. And even the declassification dates change from December 31st, 2042 to December 31st, 2043. I'm not telling you that anything specific about those things that I picked up on, but my eyeballs immediately noticed those sort of things. Which leads me to this. What is it called when you, as the head of the FBI, authorize and pursue a criminal investigation of the sitting president of the United States for a crime that you know did not occur? The words you're looking for could possibly be sedition or treason. Okay? That's exactly what that was. And the next word I want to use is gitmo, because that's where James Comey belongs.